We got Marvel Rivals tonight, and I came across this video from Robokast talking about another Marvel game that I was absolutely in love with for a while. Some of you guys remember it. I streamed it. What? This is towards like the beginning of my streaming career. There's another Marvel game that I actually really enjoyed, and I hated the end game was so just blah and bland and repetitive because I feel like it had a lot of potential. And what am I talking about? Marvel Avengers. Gosh, that was OG Mr. J. It was. I actually really enjoyed the game. I did. It was a lot of fun. When it got to the end game, it was just so repetitive. The grind was the same, like 4 levels, the same 4 different enemy types. Like it just got to a point where you've just done it so much that you're like, okay, like I'm not excited to grind for it anymore, right? They kept releasing some characters, there's a bunch of skins, and I don't know. We're gonna watch the video, and it's titled "Why Marvel's Avengers Failed with a $200 million Budget." I just want you to go down nostalgia lane with me for just a moment, because I've not played this game in probably 2 years. Has it been 2 years since I played this game last? Maybe 3? Came out in 2020. So has it been like 3 years since I've probably played this game? Oh, God, it's been so long.
With an estimated development budget of nearly $200 million, 2020's Marvel's Avengers is easily one of the most expensive video games ever made.
At the time,
because of the massive hype surrounding
it fails because Mr. J. Gober stopped streaming it. That's true.
Sentiment around Marvel characters
100%.
at this time, the game was set up to be a massive slam dunk on nearly every single level. But, well, it completely failed and missed its projected sales goals
fall off. Dead game.
Leading to the developer to sell off its IP in the middle of the project. No matter how you slice it, Marvel's Avengers was an ambitious title by Marvel Games and Crystal Dynamics. For years, the fanbase asked for a superhero combat game in that Marvel-specific style that wasn't just a cheap, poorly skinned mobile app to tap and play. At first,
I played that game too.
It won hearts and wallets. It wasn't just the best-selling game of
I liked
2020,
it, but
it sold nearly as well as Marvel's Spider-Man, supposedly meeting all of Marvel Games' standards and expectations. And yet, Square Enix, the parent company that had funded Crystal Dynamics since 2009, reported that the title only met 60% of their projected profits.
That's one thing that I hate already about, like, God, man. And this is an older game, so it doesn't really fall into, like, the greed that happens in today's games. But, man, all these developers just absolutely ruin games because they're all about the money, which I get. That you're investors, like you're a company, you need to make money, blah, blah, blah. I get the double-edged sword of gaming. But it's like, why can't there be games and developers like Larian and Baldur's Gate 3? I did that for you, Crit. You're welcome. Who make a game for the love of the game, for the love of the community, for the love of its players. You know? Not very many games do that anymore. And it's depressing.
Microtransactions. The financial hit was so bad that Square Enix sold Crystal Dynamics not even a full 2 years later.
To Embracer Group? Get out of here! You're garbage!
Marvel's Avengers was no longer playable to those who
2024. Okay, so it must have been 2 years since I
short?
played it last.
What went wrong with Marvel's Avengers, and how did it become a $200 million disaster? To explain how we even got here, we need to start with a bit of backstory about Marvel's foray into gaming. Marvel Games entered the modern world of gaming in 2009 and made plenty of busy action titles.
Ultimate Alliance?
IPs,
Ever remember that?
Most were lackluster and flat. There was the Marvel Ultimate Alliance series that began in 2006, but it was a niche game franchise that missed the mark of what Marvel was capable of doing. They'd never really pushed the envelope.
Is that like the only Marvel game before this, before Avengers?
The Marvel brand image, and as 2019 rolled around, things were about to change with their most ambitious and expensive
Ultimate Alliance is the only Marvel game until this, right?
Crystal Dynamics to create something truly impressive. Since
the
1992, Crystal Dynamics has made hit after hit, from their first 32-bit game, Crash and Burn, to the long-running Legacy of Kain series. By
I know the games, I never played those.
They incorporated into a large game publishing company called Eidos for a whopping $47.5 million, and Eidos acquired
like 75 mil nowadays.
Entire backlog of games and upcoming lineup. Crystal Dynamics' value was sky high, and Eidos took it even higher when they gave
it
the
looked
next
beautiful
Tomb Raider
too.
to Crystal Crystal Dynamics,
Speaking of beautiful,
who hit it out of the park for over 25 consecutive years of cult classic successes.
The Tomb Raider series was good.
In 2009, things continued uphill, and the Japanese company Square Enix purchased Eidos and its properties, including Crystal Dynamics,
the old Ultimate
for
Alliance,
approximately $130 million. Square Enix was behind
I don't think I
tons of
played the new
successful
ones either.
games in tons of genres by 2009. We all know about the domination of Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts over the market.
Yeah,
even their standalones became classics that are still talked about today, like Sleeping Dogs and Hitman Absolution. And of course, we cannot deny the massive success of the Tomb Raider series under Square Enix.
Oh my gosh, speaking of which, the Tomb Raider series, if we go back here, where's it at?
Talked about today, like Sleeping Dogs.
Can we talk about how I feel like the newer age, like the Tomb Raider reboot, these right here, these ones right here, a Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Those were actually really good games. The new one is only on Switch. Oh, that's probably why I didn't play the new Ultimate Alliance one then. God, yeah, but the old Ultimate Alliance, like PlayStation, that was really good. I enjoyed that. Like, if they were to do a remake of that, or like is there a genre of game, not genre, I guess, but like, is there a game out now that is similar to the old Ultimate Alliance? Like, do they have a game, like the mechanics and like it's not Baldur's Gate, so don't even try me with that. But like, is there a game out like Ultimate Alliance? I can't think of it off the top of my head. Yeah, I know you're gonna try to say Baldur's Gate, so don't even come at me with that. No, but no. So like the Tomb Raider games, I actually really like the newer ones. I mean, the older ones are classics, obviously, but man, the remakes, the reboots.
Raider series under Square Enix as well. Things were looking great for Square Enix on the surface, but these huge sales numbers and chart toppers that made their competitors jealous were actually drowning the company. If they saw profit from any games, they rarely kept the funds.
Well, that's their problem. They're stupid for that then.
That they continued to
Baldur's Gate? Yes, absolutely 100%.
Even in 2006, with the huge releases of Kingdom Hearts 2 and Final Fantasy 12.
Oh, Final Fantasy 12, that was a good game. Kingdom Hearts. Chad, don't get mad at me. I've only ever played the first 2 Kingdom Hearts games. And don't get mad at me again, chat, for this. I've never actually fully beaten a Kingdom Hearts game. I've only played through a couple of them. Right? I've played the first 2, but I've never actually beaten any of those first 2 that I played. But Final Fantasy, different story. I love that franchise. One of my favorite franchises of all time. Riot.
Budgets and unmanaged expectations.
We're trying to Riot now.
Left Square Enix with a profit cut from 17.5 billion to 10 billion yen. 2013 saw the release of Hitman Absolution, Tomb Raider, and Sleeping Dogs. But even with the relatively successful launches of these games, Square Enix still missed their expected gross sales by 6 million.
I don't see how.
Profits and expectations aside, Crystal Dynamics basked in the critical reception of Tomb Raider. With the passion that Marvel sought for their source content and the resources that Crystal Dynamics had at their disposal through Square Enix, the collaboration on Marvel's Avengers was formed. This collaboration seemed like the perfect match. An exciting action-packed
I thought it was going to be amazing.
Exciting action-packed,
and it was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong.
And nothing makes it beat harder than
I've played Kingdom Hearts 3, but I've played and beat the other ones, even the one on DS.
The coolest, most immersive, and
what's the best Kingdom Hearts
vehicle combat game on the market, and it's available now for free on PC, consoles,
War
and
Thunder
devices. In this game, you take command of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from over 10
planes, trains, and automobiles.
Whether you
probably 2 is the best.
Biplanes and armored cars, or
are they doing a new Kingdom Hearts, or did that already come out?
War Thunder is full of
I thought they're doing a new one.
Vehicles, insanely high-quality graphics, and authentic sounds that
I could be wrong.
Place you at the helm.
There's a new one coming.
Powerful war machines.
I thought there was. When's coming out?
And now, with a new mobile version that you can play right now on iOS and Android, you can experience the massive multiplayer battles of War Thunder at your fingertips on the go. So join a worldwide community of over 70 million players today and delve headfirst into the awesome experience that is War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile.
What a pay-to-win gotcha game.
And pinned comment. There is a massive bonus pack available.
So I know nothing about a new one. That's fair. I'll have to look, since I haven't done a video on it. Yeah, I'll have to look one up.
For at least 6 months.
I'll look one up just for you.
If you use my link, and it includes an exclusive vehicle decorator called the Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of a premium account. Now, about that partnership between Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix for Marvel's Avengers.
Is this going to make me want to play Marvel Avengers again?
Superhero titles through a combination
Am
of
I
a
gonna have to
polished
download it?
single-player, story-driven campaign and a combat-focused co-op experience. Each of these were done individually in the past with Marvel games, but there had never been a superhero experience that was enjoyable in both single-player and co-op. There would also be a variety of playable characters and even a looter-shooter gameplay loop focused on a huge variety of loot with differing rarities, stats, and powers. The game sounded awesome, and it had the potential to be the game of the decade.
It did have great potential.
So, work began on the Avengers project in 2017,
and
from the start, it was...
I think if it wasn't for the in-game, it could have continued. And that's like with every game, right? Like, in-game always ruins games. I mean, New World, MMO, but like New World, great game up until the end game, and then once you get to end game and get like max level gear or at least gear enough to go into the higher levels, it's like, what are you doing? Like, there's nothing really to do. A lot of people stick around for the PvP. Well, I'm not a PvP person, so like the end game of New World really falls off for me, right? Well, in this, because there's like 4 levels, 4 different enemy types, like it just got so repetitive that I got not burnt out, but I was not excited to like go in and grind the characters, level them up.
It was clear that this was
a Scarlet Witch, then I'd be happy to grind the characters.
Crystal Dynamics had to work constantly with Marvel games to ensure that the universe was canon and that plot arrangements made sense with the rest of the Marvel universe. They were aware that fans were extremely passionate,
and Black Widow too, not just Scarlet Witch,
in the comics existed in relation to each other, so it was important for the team to make sure that the setting, the characters, and the story aligned perfectly. If it didn't, the game would be a complete flop from the start. But this was just the tip of the iceberg when it came to tackling the challenges of making a successful Marvel Avengers game. This game was aiming to be different, bigger, and better than anything that Marvel games had ever worked on in the past. It needed the option for online co-op, but Crystal Dynamics had only ever produced single-player games. So, as stated by
the gameplay of the different heroes was so fun, though. They all played differently
as an organization,
and that was cool.
As a
that was
studio,
the cool thing.
Pretty much from the ground up in some areas. Crystal Dynamics had to coordinate between 5 different companies that their engine and game elements were spread across: Crystal Dynamics, Marvel Games, Square Enix, Nix's Software, and Eidos Montreal. They had to construct a new building to get control of their assets and workflow, and create a new Crystal
behind-the-scenes stuff just ruins
to
games.
tackle the technical challenges of adding co-op to Marvel's Avengers. Square Enix funded Crystal Dynamics' hunt for the industry's best.
I don't think I did co-op at all.
Vince Napoli, known for his work on God of War's 2018 reboot, and 2 top names to help shape their production: Sean Eskig, who was a creative director at Naughty Dog, and Steven...
I remember, speaking of co-op, because like I don't think I did co-op at all. I remember when I first heard about this game. I wouldn't say first heard about it, but I first saw it in action, and it got me really excited for it. It was a collaborative event with Tim the Tatman, Dr. Lupo. I want to say it was Ninja. No. It was Tim the Tatman, Dr. Lupo, Nick Merckx, and then their Dennis. What's their friend's name? They just call him Dennis all the time. I don't remember. Anyway, so as those major streamers, they paid Square Enix and them paid those streamers to like do an event, play the game, play through for a few hours or whatnot. So I've heard of the game, but that's the first time I really saw it in action. I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like a ton of fun. And that sold me on it. And I played it for many, many hours, and I enjoyed it.
Barry, who is a director of product development for Visceral. With a solid lineup ready to take the reins of this ambitious project, Marvel's Avengers had the foundation for a great AAA title in the gameplay, the visuals, and the story. It was going to be a massive success no matter what, right? Marvel and Crystal Dynamics teased small pieces of information the first 2 years of the project to build hype and to keep the audience from losing interest. By the time it was officially announced with a release date at E3 2019, the fans were starving for it, and they were cheering with E3 during an interview that revealed the first 6 characters' voice actors. Then, at the same showcase, the now infamous A-Day trailer was released, showcasing some action-packed cinematic sequences and showing the roster of Avengers that you could play as in the game, and, well, it looked amazing. The release date was announced for May 15th.
All the different skins and stuff
fans,
too?
for the most part, were hyped.
Should have made bank.
Of 2020, Crystal Dynamics
so many people love the skins.
Back 4 more months because they, quote, needed to polish things.
I don't care about delays. I don't know about you guys, but I don't care about delays. Delay a game if you're going to make it look good. Like if you're gonna iron out some bugs, like whatever. The only thing that I hate about companies with delays is they're not transparent about it. They're not open about it. Why don't they just say like, hey, you guys want us to fix this, this, and this? We're delaying it so we can fix this for you. I feel like if companies were to be more just like open, transparent, like not sugarcoat it, not lie to us, I don't think delays would be that big of a deal. But it's when they like sugarcoat it and they try to beat around the bush and say, oh, we're just going to talk about something. I'm like, no, you, the community, want us to fix this, this, and this. We're going to work on that. We're going to do what you want. I'm okay if delays is complete if it's complete when the game comes out. Yeah.
Up. As the new release date drew closer, more gameplay and teasers were shown to the public, and hopeful fans started to understand how ambitious this game was supposed to be. The campaign was expected to be 10 to 12 hours long, or upwards of 30 hours for the hardcore
it was about that
long,
I feel.
It was set to have a Destiny-like playstyle with looter-shooter mechanics, complex skill trees, and leveled gear, and each of the 5 initial playable characters had tons of custom outfits and collectibles that really made the game feel as if it had some depth to it. The combat looked fluid and fun, the story looked awesome, and fun. Everything was shaping up to be the best Marvel video game ever made. But, well, there were some major issues from the start that basically caused all of this stuff to be thrown out the window by longtime Marvel fans. First of all, who were these people? This wasn't the Iron Man that fans had spent over 10 years getting to know and love. This wasn't the Captain America that appeared in 11 different films over the last decade and even more comics. And where was Hawkeye? If you look through the comments of pretty much any of these early trailers, you'll see hundreds of them complaining about these 2 things alone.
He was added later. Holy jeez. Marvel, correct, you know this. Marvel has like, what, 10,000 characters? Like, I get it's Marvel's Avengers. Hawkeye was originally in the Avengers, yes. But holy jeez, I feel like this is a ridiculous thing to complain about the game, right? Because the core people were in there. Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Black Widow. Those 5, right? Yeah. Though they were in there. The core ones were in the game. No Hawkeye, really? I bet if Hawkeye was in it, then they'd be like, oh, well, no, Black Panther was in there. Right? Somebody would complain about a character not being in there, just like you said, Crit. People complain about everything. That's the whole point of longevity of the game. Get used to the characters you have, and then they add in characters later. They add in more characters for you, right? As the game goes on. And plus, what this guy's talking about, how a lot of people are hating on, like, oh, this isn't Robert Downey Jr., right? This isn't Chris Evans. It's a video game. Do you know how expensive it probably would have been to get the voice acting of Robert Downey Jr. in this game? To get Chris Evans to actually voice the game? Like, of course, it's an interpretation of the game. Think about the multiverses. There's so many different like variants, right? Variations of the character. Who cares? It's still Iron Man. It's still Captain America, etc. It doesn't have to be the exact same people. Those 2 arguments I don't care about. Like, I'm like, it did not bother me at all. It did not bother me that I was not playing as Chris Evans. It did not bother me that I wasn't playing as Chris Hemsworth as Thor, which, to be fair, I wouldn't have minded. Chris Hemsworth is. But the point is, I did not, when I was playing Marvel's Avengers, I did not care about it not being Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr., right? It was still enjoyable. Not having Hawkeye in it, okay. He eventually came later in the game. Like, look, chat, I'm going to tell you right now. Right here. I have over 400 hours in the game. I did my time. I put hours into this game. Okay? Played it 432 hours. Look, okay? Kamala Khan came later. Black Panther came later. Hawkeye came later. Okay? They're these what 1, 2, 3, 4. They added 4 more characters before they're like, X, we're done. Like, we're just done with the game. So they can add them. Kate Bishop, that's what I was forgetting. Yes, thank you. And Kate Bishop. So they added 4 characters in the longevity of the game before they're like, well, everybody's hating on it, so now we're just gonna stop. We're gonna pull support. So far these arguments don't resonate with me.
Second, why on earth was there a deluxe edition that came with hero skins, DLC access, and other game-boosting add-ons?
Because every game does that.
Amos had stressed that there would be no purchase-locked content all the way back at E3
Every game does that for money.
That came out with, quote, extra content turned away some players and fueled Reddit fights and worries that the game would be riddled with microtransactions in typical AAA game fashion. There were a lot of red flags.
The microtransactions were cosmetic.
Crystal Dynamics would make some calls behind the scenes, and that this would become the
doesn't bother me. Doesn't affect me.
Had wanted since the dawn of gaming. Maybe they could turn it around before launch. Marvel's Avengers finally released on September 4th, 2020 for nearly every console available at the time except the Nintendo Switch. It was $60 to $80
Dude, they are
launch,
100% normal nowadays, but yet 2020, this game got ripped apart for having a deluxe edition that came with more skins or like a reason to buy the deluxe edition. Yeah, this game got ripped apart for it. But yet nowadays, like you said, deluxe editions are so normal nowadays.
And it sold 2.2 million copies in its first month, pushing it to the top of all games sold in September of 2020. And it was still the 7th best-selling game by September of 2021. It seemed like it was doing really well, so
whole year later,
making this video?
Still top 10.
Let's talk a bit more about the game itself. From the numbers alone, it seemed as if it was a success, but reviews trickled in and told a different story. IGN only rated the game a 6 out of 10.
I don't trust IGN on anything, though.
From over 1,000 players. On Metacritic, the user
It's weird when a AAA game doesn't have deluxe edition. Yes.
Plus reviews, and the critic score.
I could go on and on about all these like IGN and Game Critic and like all these different things. I swear all of them are just in the company's pockets. Like they're just in these developers' hip pockets. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Like IGN will rate games so much better than the average player of somebody who actually plays the game. I will watch more content creators on YouTube that review games rather than like IGN or GameSpot or like any of these major companies. I swear these major companies literally just get paid the more they talk, the better they talk about a game. You know what I'm saying? It's fake advertisement, basically. I will never buy a deluxe edition. There will be very rare incidences where I'll buy a deluxe edition of a game, or even better. Monster Hunter Wilds, I did buy the premium deluxe edition, only because I've played that franchise for 20 years. So it's like, I did not care because I wanted to support that franchise because it's been good to me for like 20 years. But I very rarely buy the deluxe edition of games. I'll buy the base one because here's the thing. I don't really care about cosmetics. There, I said it. Cosmetics do not matter to me. Now, if I unlock them through playing the game, sure, I'll change it up. But if I don't switch up my appearance and cosmetic, it doesn't bother me. I'll still play the game just fine. I'm not... So, the free cosmetics, yes. So, like Twitch drops, things like that. Sure, fine. I'll use those. But buying cool skins, I don't really care, right? I don't go around collecting all of the layered armor and the cosmetic stuff. Like doesn't bother me. Especially with like games that you won't, like if it's a first person game. Let me talk about something for a second. Why would you care, okay, about cosmetics in a first person game? You can't even see them. What's the point? Moving on.
Score sat at a depressing 67. Now, I already talked about a lot of the issues, like
off tangent. I'm done now.
The weird casting of the Avengers, the locking of content behind paywalls, and the addition of microtransactions before the game even launched. But there were also quite a few other issues beneath the surface related to the game mechanics themselves.
Ooh, a lot of players thought okay, here we go. I can talk about this.
And unrewarding. When the game was announced, it seemed as if the co-op experience and the single-player experience were two separate pieces of the puzzle, allowing for players to get hundreds of hours in this game and causing it to be highly replayable. However, this wasn't the case when the game came out, and players found that the Avengers co-op missions were tied into the story of the campaign. What had been teased as two different pieces of content now felt like a bit of a letdown and made the entire story clunky and off-pace.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, is the same levels over and over again. So you would go through, here's how it worked. You would see an area for the very first time through the storyline. And then once you did that, then that area, that map was then repeatable through side missions. So you would have the same 5, 6 level designs, right? that once you went through the main storyline, then you unlocked it, you could go there again to do side missions. That's all it was. There was never new maps to go to. It was just different variants. So like it was still the same map, but like for example, the base where you're trying to get into would be in the north like east part of the map. Well, the next time you play it, even though the base is still there, your objective is now in the northwest part of the map, or northeast, or opposite side, right? So all these bases still existed on the map. The map didn't change, but where the objective was changed. Do you get what I'm saying? That's where it's like, I was a Hulk main, did stupid damage. Duke Nasty. I'll tell you, over 400 hours in this game. I loved Marvel's Avengers. I just think the end game kind of sucked.
All over forums, confused players were asking how they were even supposed to approach playing this game, to the point where Crystal Dynamics had to make a post telling players how to tackle it. This split in the game structure also broke the loot system into 2 parts, so gathering or buying anything in co-op gave you no benefit in the campaign and vice versa. On top of all of this, the main selling point of the looter-shooter mechanics were pointless, as rare gear barely added protection or damage, no matter how much work you put into acquiring it. It seemed as if the developers struggled to build something cohesive, and it caused a lot of people to feel underwhelmed by the actual experience in Marvel's Avengers. The promises sounded great, but the game really didn't deliver. Over the months following the launch, Crystal Dynamics made additions to the game's co-op mode and released a slew of $10 Battle Pass characters and other DLC.
Every game has a Battle Pass nowadays.
Getting regular updates, but well, they were really just adding more microtransactions. In fact, these character additions caused even more controversy, as it was revealed in a 2021 article on Screen Rant that you would have to spend $3,000 to get all of this new content that came out with these updates. $3,000
again, cosmetics. I don't really care.
Feel a bit more whole.
That didn't
Fans
bother
were
me.
Furious and pulled away in a weird.
I feel like in games that if you have cosmetics as what people are spending their money on, fine, as long as it's not a pay-to-win aspect, right? If you're releasing cosmetics for people to buy, you have to make money. I've always been under the assumption that companies need to make money to continually update the game, right? You can only buy the game once, right? So you're spending the money once. A year down the road, they still need more money to continue updating it. They've already spent that money from you buying the game originally. So microtransactions are fine to me as long as they're purely cosmetic, because that doesn't affect me. I will very rarely spend money on a cosmetic. Battle Pass? Maybe. I've been known to buy an Apex Battle Pass in the past, right? But for the most part, doesn't bother me. There's always a free Battle Pass, right? I bought a New World Battle Pass time or two, but like, there's always a free track usually, and then a premium track. But anyway, cosmetics do not bother me. Companies have to make their money somehow. And if it's buying different cool skins, a lot of people will buy those, so go for it.
Out-of-place collaboration with Fortnite hardly drew them back. By November of 2020, just a few months after launch, Crystal Dynamics posted an announcement on their website that every single version of Marvel's Avengers would be 50% off for Black Friday. The big slash sale did help to sell some copies, but ultimately didn't change much regarding the mediocre reception of the game. And it was a bad sign, because slashing the price of a $200 million game just 3 months after launch means that copies weren't selling as well as the developers had hoped. But again, maybe players would just need to give it some more time.
Go some math real
quick. August of 2022, Square Enix sold Crystal Dynamics to Embracer Group alongside their Montreal offices for a price of $300 million. With the Avengers game having such an uncertain future, this sale really didn't help to make things any better. The financial failure weighed over the team as some of them moved to other projects.
Okay, so $60, say it was $60, right? And this is not buying any extra content, not buying any skins, nothing, right? On pure sales alone, in the first, month did they say when they sold 2.2 million copies, right? We'll say the game was $60, okay? That is $132 million in initial sales of the game right off the gate. Then you throw in things like this, where if like people are buying it later, half price, 30% off, whatever, all the cosmetics people are buying, they had to have at least made their money back over. Sure, they didn't make a huge profit, I don't think, but you would think that they would have made their money back when in the first month of the game it sold 2.2 million copies. That's $132 million just in the first initial sales of the game. No cosmetics, no nothing. And that's not even buying the deluxe editions, right? So you would think they've at least made their money back, but sure, it probably wasn't a big money grabber. Apex Battle Pass did it right. If you completed the Battle Pass, you had enough currency to buy the next one. That's true.
Characters through 2022, fans apparently began to notice unanswered loose
I'd always make sure I had enough to buy the Battle Pass and then spend anything over that for Apex. Yeah, that's fair.
The old roadmap for content wasn't being followed, and Crystal Dynamics admitted that they weren't going to post a new one. Plus, with more and more of the team being reassigned to other projects at Embracer, things were not going to be getting better anytime soon. On January 2023, Crystal Dynamics released a post on their announcement page. Development had officially ended, and their last update would be out in
at least
March.
2 years.
They had finally stopped charging for Battle
2 to 3
Pass
years since I played this game.
Add-ons, but the playstyle had never really shifted away from the same boring basics. The most entertaining co-op play still existed
That's what I said.
in DLC, and the overall experience was underwhelming at best. It was
the Black Panther DLC expansion, that was actually really fun.
Had begun to be a bit disappointed with the final state of the game. Marvel's Avengers had officially failed at becoming what it was promised to be, and all hope was lost for the perfect superhero game. In September of 2023, Crystal Dynamics decided, seemingly out of nowhere, to end support for the game and delist it from all platforms, but they specifically stated that, quote, even after official support is ceased, multiplayer and single-player mode will still be available. Die-hard fans were once again
I can still play it right now if I wanted.
But people who had already bought the game were excited about the free downloads of the once expensive content. It was great for people who already loved the Avengers game.
I can get all the content right now for free.
There weren't a lot of these people.
Delisting is crazy, I know. It's kind of like Knockout City.
After September 30th of
like you can still play it right now, but they're done.
That we will be able to address issues that occur due to unforeseen circumstances. In short, they were completely abandoning their $200 million game. Single player and multiplayer would still be available, but there was no guarantee that it would even work, which for a game that many owners spent $70+ on was a slap in the face. Even worse was the fact that the game was put on a 90% sale just 1 week before all support for it would cease, in a last-ditch effort to milk any remaining revenue out of this financial disaster of a game. And then, just 5 months later, in February of 2024, the game was completely removed from all stores entirely, making it so that nobody could even purchase it if they wanted to. Crystal Dynamics was done with Avengers, and they now focused fully on their next project. Deleted from storefronts and now serverless, Marvel's Avengers was torn out of existence and was never coming back. Crystal Dynamics bit off a bit more than they could chew with Marvel's Avengers,
why they did that, though.
And even more so, their parent company of Square Enix.
Why not?
Everyone involved believed that this project couldn't fail with the massive Marvel name behind it. Just like they'd done with Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Tomb Raider,
it was mismanaged, for sure.
Square Enix overestimated their success, and their development costs
I've always loved it. I put over 400 hours in the game.
Even
like,
60%
I enjoyed this
of
game.
their expected revenue for Marvel's Avengers, they found themselves in a pit that was made deeper by the development of updates on a product that didn't have the financial foundation to support these updates.
I think
the audience loved every part of
I don't think it's financial updates. I don't think anything really do financially. I think it was the vision behind the game that ruined it. Because, like I've said it many times on this video, I'm like a broken record at this point. The core of the game had a lot of fun to it, right? You're swinging around the city, not swinging around because Spider-Man wasn't in the game, but like you're bouncing around different cities, different areas, different locations. Each hero played differently. You had the loot system. You had all the skins you could unlock. The core of the game was a lot of fun. I just think it was mismanaged, and that comes from the higher ups, the people that were calling the shots in the division of the game, the direction the game was going. I don't think they had a real in-game vision for the game that made it replayable for people. That's what happened. I think the financial part would have came because 2.2 million copies sold. The first year of its life, it was still in the top 10 for sales. In the first year, you can't tell me that the game didn't have a following, the game didn't have interest, when in the first year of the game, it was still top 10 in sales on Steam. It's like, the game had potential, and I wish that they would have stuck with it. I wish they would have fleshed it out more, because it could have been around for a lot longer, and I would have kept playing it.
of Marvel's Avengers across the board.
So much of the problem is leadership being dumb. Yeah, fair.
Expectations.
Marvel's Avengers
taken upwards of $200 million to develop, according to workers and game analysts. Square Enix reported a loss of $67 million just one financial quarter after Marvel's Avengers was put on the market, so this game lost them a lot of money. Square Enix claimed as early as 2021 that Crystal Dynamics...
Wait, that's literally the math that I told you guys. What the fuck? Holy shit! These people are stupid. The first quarter, listen to this, chat. The first quarter after this game went on the market. Hold on.
Them a lot of money.
No, pause. No. The first quarter, which is like what, 3 to 4 months, okay? After this game went on the market, which lost around 67 million. Sure, remember I told you, 2.2 million copies sold. That's $132 million. Within the first 3 to 4 months, it almost made its money back in the first 3 to 4 months. Now, not every game is Baldur's Gate 3 that you can turn a profit immediately. Not every game is Kingdom Come Deliverance, okay? But the game made, I mean, what is that? 60% in the first 3 months? Now, if you just do a little bit of TLC to it, right? A little bit of love and support, a new character, new DLC, some new maps, the traditional like care of a game, you make your money back. So it's like, I don't see why. I don't know. It's done now, but ugh.
After Marvel's
but the TLC cost more money.
So
it was getting that.
Lot of money. Square Enix claimed as early as 2021
all the cosmetics and things
was the wrong fit for developing Marvel's Avengers, but it was the very same excuse that they had given to their shareholders about the original developers of Tomb Raider 25
I'm trying to think of the Black Panther DLC was paid
fell
for.
flat against their own mistakes.
Or if I just got
By the time that Crystal Dynamics was in the hands of Embracer, Marvel's Avengers was too far gone to be worth the upkeep, so they pulled the plug. What did you guys think about Marvel's Avengers?
I loved it!
Did you ever get a chance to play it?
I did.
Did you get it at full price
I
or
did.
on sale? How did you take it when the support was removed?
Hated
also,
it.
What are your thoughts on Square Enix's role and this over-budgeted
They're
game
stupid and they mismanaged the game.
Failure? Do you think that Crystal Dynamics was really the wrong choice for development?
Nope, they did a great job
on all of these in the comment.
They did a great job. They fumbled the game, mismanagement of it from top to bottom. No, I mean the TLC costs more money to develop. I guess that's true. And I was just trying to think too, the Black Panther DLC that came with it. I don't know if that was a paid DLC or if it came for free. I sent you an invite, by the way, Crit. Yeah, I don't remember if that was a paid DLC or not. Anyway, I got it regardless. But overall, Marvel's Avengers was a great game. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I put over 400 hours into it. I would have gotten more. I would have put more into it had the end game been a little bit more fleshed out. Had they would have stuck with it a little bit more. But any of you guys played it? Any of you checked it out? Very rude of Jay to say things that make me agree with him. Haha, see? That's right. I know what I'm talking about. But Marvel's Avengers, RIP. I miss you.